CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts and Lisa Collin for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I found a hidden location from Redtail Town on the dark web where people die. Tonight, I'm going with my friend. So before anyone jumps in the comments, calling me stupid or attention-seeking, hear me out. I know exactly how dumb this sounds. I'm the type of guy who leaves a Starbucks iced latte on the roof of his car and drives off with it raining caramel drizzle everywhere. I'm not some hacker living in a neon basement surrounded by LED strips and Mountain Dew cans. I'm just a dude. But somehow, I ended up finding something I don't think I should have ever seen. It started on a random Tuesday night in February. I had just gotten off a late shift at McDonald's, one of those shifts where your feet ache like hell and your brain feels like it's leaking out your ears. I hopped on Discord with my friend Nate. He's that one guy in your friend group who always talks about the real web and claims the surface internet is a playground for idiots. He says it like he's seen something behind the curtain, and honestly, I always thought he was full of crap. That night he screen shared a browser I didn't recognize. It wasn't Chrome, it wasn't Firefox. It was this weird matte black window with a gold raven icon. He told me it was an experimental browser fork of Tor with invisible link indexing. I laughed because that sounded like some cyberpunk 2077 fanfiction. He didn't laugh back. His voice was calm, almost bored. You think the deep web is drugs and hitman scams, he said. That's tourist stuff. There are places the servers don't even want you to index. And then there's Redtail. He said Redtail like it was a local town. Like, oh yeah bro, I just passed through Redtail on my way to Starbucks this morning. I asked him what the hell that was. He didn't explain immediately. Instead, he pulled up a website with a plain white page and a single text box. It looked like an ancient school computer login form. Above it, in Helvetica font, was a sentence. Enter a location. Find the red. It gave me the same vibe as those urban legend websites in old creep videos where the narrator says, you type in your name and the website shows where you die. Cringe, right? But Nate typed something anyway. He typed our town. Before I could laugh at him, the page loaded. Not slow, not glitchy, just instantly. It snapped into an aerial map, not like Google Maps, more like Apple Maps with realistic textures. There were red dots everywhere, some bright, some dim. They pulsed like tiny heart monitors. Nate hovered his cursor over one of the red dots not far from us, and a small tag opened. Redtail Station, 6:14 a.m., January 22nd, 2024. Filed. I froze. We live near a place called Redtail Road. Not famous, not interesting. It's just a suburban arterial surrounded by sketchy old warehouses and vape shops where teenagers pretend to be edgy. There's no station. I told him the site was fake. He scrolled. Dot after dot popped open. 12:47 a.m., 9:03 p.m., 4:10 a.m. Each timestamp had a word beside it. Filed. I don't know why that word bothered me so much. Filed. Like someone was keeping records. I told him to refresh. He didn't. He zoomed in further until we could see our side streets. And then, when he stopped moving the mouse, maybe 5 seconds passed in silence before one more dot appeared. It bloomed red like a blooming bruise on the map, exactly at the intersection outside my apartment building. No timestamp, no notes, just a label. You see it. Now, I thought he was messing with me. Maybe he coded some prank with a browser plugin, but his hands lifted off his keyboard. He actually leaned away. Dude, I didn't click anything, he whispered. And then I swear on everything, the red dot flickered once and vanished. He scrambled for his phone, switched on the flashlight, and pointed it at the camera like he needed me to see his face to understand how serious this was. That happens when it's active, he said. Active? I asked. When it isn't recorded, when it's happening. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. Happening? What does that even mean? Like someone was dying outside my apartment while we sat on Discord. He told me that's how it worked. Redtail didn't predict deaths. It archived them in real time. I asked how he even found this browser, this site, anything. He hesitated. For the first time since I've known him, Nate wasn't cocky. He wasn't smug. He just looked tired. A guy in an IRC chat gave it to me, he said. He said Redtail isn't a website. It's a place. But you don't search for coordinates. You search for activity. And if the dot shows live, you go. I told him he was insane. He nodded like he already knew. That's why we're going tonight, he said. We? You saw it. It registered you. The call disconnected. I sat there staring at the empty Discord channel, half expecting him to rejoin and scream, "Gotcha!" The air in my apartment felt too still, like the outside world was waiting for me to react. I checked the window. The street lamps hummed. Cars passed. Nothing weird. Nothing red. I almost decided to ignore it. But then, about 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled past my building with its lights off, just cruising slow, looking for something. Not sirens, not rushing, just scouting. That was enough for me to text him. Fine. Where are we meeting? He sent one response. Redtail Road. Midnight. Bring gloves. Midnight never hits how you expect. It's not dramatic like in movies. No thunder, no fog crawling out of gutters. It's just a slow transition. Headlights disappearing, drunk people stumbling out of late-night Taco Bell or some sketchy bar, sidewalks emptying like someone unplugged the world. I was parked outside a closed Starbucks, sipping the last inch of cold brew that tasted like melted ice, staring at the time on my phone. 12:01 a.m. Nate was late. When his car finally slid into the lot, I didn't hear it. The first thing I noticed was that his headlights were off. Not dim, not dying, off. I blinked at him through my windshield like, "Dude, what are you doing? That's how people get pulled over." He didn't explain. He rolled down the window and waved me over with one lazy, slow swipe of his hand, like calling a dog. Nate had always looked like a bargain bin gym bro. Shaggy hair, hoodie, vape in hand. But that night, he was nothing like that. His jaw was tight. His eyes were so bloodshot, they looked bruised. I got into the passenger seat, and before I could crack a joke, he tossed something into my lap. Black gloves, latex, the kind hospitals use. "Put them on," he said. I thought he was trying to be edgy. "Why? We going to rob a Walgreens?" He didn't laugh. No fingerprints. The car smelled like gasoline and old leather. I pulled on the gloves anyway. They stuck to my skin, squeaking when I flexed my fingers. Something about them made my pulse start tapping at the base of my throat, like I was committing a crime just wearing them. Redtail Road was only 8 minutes away, but the drive felt like hours. The night got quieter as we pulled off the main street. Streetlights disappeared, billboards stopped, civilization faded, the radio stayed off. All I heard was the engine humming and Nate's breathing, slow, heavy, like every inhale took effort. Then his phone lit up, a notification in plain black text on a white background, like something from an old Nokia. No sender name, no app icon. Location, active, Redtail, 3.1, no coordinates. Just that, a floating instruction. He didn't speak. He didn't even slow down. He turned down a side road lined with abandoned warehouses. You know the type. Rusted roll-up doors, graffiti tags worn off, like the walls were trying to forget them, windows bordered with uneven plywood scraps. The road dipped, and the pavement turned from asphalt to cracked concrete. I finally broke the silence. What does 3.1 mean? He licked his lips. Version. They update the site. The station changes. The way he said they, I swear he wasn't talking about developers or hackers. His voice registered like there was an audience watching us from somewhere we couldn't see. We stopped near a half-collapsed warehouse with a faded sign that used to say Redtail Thermal Services, the last letters eaten by rust. The metal structure moaned in the wind. A single door sat crooked in the frame, like a jaw knocked loose from a face. Nate tapped something on his screen. The browser window appeared, the same blank interface I'd seen before. No search box this time, just a flashing line of red text at the top. You are close. My chest tightened. I told him it had to be some ARG or a prank. He didn't argue. He simply shut off the engine. We stepped out. The air tasted metallic, not like blood or iron, more like the smell of a subway roll when a train screeches past. Nate pointed at the warehouse. The dot was inside. I didn't want to be the one to ask, but the question was already in my throat. Inside for what? He didn't answer. I followed him because humans do stupid things when they don't know how to back out gracefully. It was like when you walk into a haunted house attraction at Universal Studios. You know it's fake, but you still tense because maybe this one time it isn't. We pushed through the crooked door. The hinges shrieked like a cat being dragged. A single hallway stretched ahead, long, rectangular, choked in shadow. The floor was littered with newspaper, all yellowed and curled at the edges. Not a single modern page, no TikTok-era ads or smartphone promos, just things from the early 2000s, missing dog posters, employment listings, sale coupons for Blockbuster. The walls were worse. Someone had painted them with wide streaks of red, uneven swipes, like they were cleaning paint off a brush and didn't care where it landed. I didn't want to assume blood. My brain screamed, rusty water, vandalism, a prank, anything that made sense. We didn't talk. We moved deeper. I heard a drip somewhere far down the hall. Rhythmic. Drip, drip, drip. At the end was a large room. I expected crates or old equipment. Instead, the space was empty, except for a single metal chair bolted to the floor in the center. A bright construction light hung above it, not attached to any generator or outlet, just suspended like it was born there. The chair was dented, not scraped. Dented, like someone had tried to crush it with bare hands. Behind us, the door clicked shut. I spun around. Nate didn't flinch. He put his phone on the floor and stepped closer to the chair. like he was meeting an old friend. "Stop," I whispered. I didn't know why I whispered. The room was dead silent. He ignored me. He reached the chair and touched one of the dents with his gloved fingers. He leaned in, breathing slow, shallow. That's when I noticed a smell. Cold, damp, like wet concrete after rain. But underneath it, something rotten. Not meat, not garbage. More like soil that had been dug up from someplace it shouldn't have been touched. A soft buzzing sound filled the room. The construction light flickered, not once, but 3 times. Slow, calculated. Nate froze. His eyes widened, like a child realizing he'd lost his mom in a crowd. "It's live," he whispered. I opened my mouth to question him, but I didn't get the chance. Something clicked beneath the chair, like a switch or a lock being disengaged. The panel in the floor slid open, silently, and a column of cold air blasted upward, chilling my teeth. Below us, beneath concrete and rusted steel, was another room. There were footsteps down there, soft, calm, not rushing, like whoever was walking knew exactly where we stood. Nate grabbed my wrist so hard I thought he'd break it. "We can't leave now," he breathed. "They're indexing us." I looked into the hole. It wasn't dark. It was lit in a color I've never seen in real life. Murky red, like neon soaked in blood, and then dimmed until it pulsed. My phone vibrated. I didn't take it out, but I saw the notification through my pocket. Redtail Station, 12:14 a.m. Filed. Except this time, there was no tag, no note, just coordinates. Our coordinates. The hole beneath the chair was no wider than a manhole, but it felt deeper than logic. I didn't want to look into it. I knew if I stared long enough, something would look back. Not metaphorically. I mean that in the most literal way possible. But Nate? He knelt beside the edge, like it was sacred. His head cocked slightly, like he was trying to hear someone whispering up through the gap. The red glow from below turned his face into something unnatural, like his skin didn't belong to him anymore. It gleamed where it should have been dull. His eyes had no reflection. He looked catalogued, like he had been filed, just like the rest. I don't remember climbing down. I don't remember making the decision. But the next thing I knew, we were both inside it. Inside Redtail, 3.1. It wasn't stairs. It wasn't even a ladder. It was a slope made of iron plates, welded together at odd angles, slick with some fluid that smelled like sterilized meat. The walls weren't concrete or brick. They were padded with something soft, almost like fabric, but too dense, too coarse. I brushed it once with my hand and felt tiny ridges, like pores. It wasn't until we hit the bottom that the real world stopped making sense. No more building around us, no structure. It was like being inside a tunnel scraped out of skin and bone, wide enough to move through, but wrong in every way. The floor pulsed slightly with each step, like it had a heartbeat. The light overhead didn't come from a source. There were no bulbs, no wires, just that same deep red glow pouring from invisible veins in the ceiling, dimming and brightening in an irregular rhythm. Every 5 seconds or so, the walls breathed. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I felt them expand and contract, slow, patient, like lungs just waking up. I grabbed Nate's arm. I hissed at him. "We're leaving. Right now." He didn't even look at me. "We're already inside the record," he said. "Don't you feel it? We've been marked." We kept walking because, again, humans do stupid things when panic doesn't know where to go. The tunnel forked. 3 directions. No labels. No exit signs. The left tunnel was colder. The right tunnel smelled like bleach and hot iron. The middle tunnel, silence. We went straight. About 30 feet in, there was a door. A real door. White, modern, like something from a hospital. It didn't fit. Nothing about it fit. It was set into the organic wall like a broken tooth, perfectly square, with a keypad that had no numbers, just a screen that flickered with the word, "Obey." I started shaking, not out of fear, out of realization. This wasn't an archive. It was a system that took people and converted them into records, and we had entered a version update. Nate pressed the panel. The door clicked, swung open slow. Inside was a room, brightly lit, white tiles, stainless steel, monitors on every wall, each showing black and white video footage of different streets, cities, train stations, playgrounds, all at night, all in real time, and in every one of them, there was someone just standing, not walking, not sitting, just standing, facing the camera, unmoving, unblinking. Each screen had a timestamp, and next to each one, a file name. But it wasn't names like John Smith or subject number 9. They were all labeled with emotions. Fear, 23. Apathy, 67. Joy, error, trauma, 104. B, hunger, corrupted. I asked Nate what this place was. He turned to me, finally, and said something I will never, ever forget. They don't kill people down here. Then what the hell do they do? They record them, frame by frame, until there's nothing left to remember but data. There was something else in the room. A gurney, metal, leather restraints, dried black stains around the edges, crusted like lacquer. It had a camera mounted on an arm above it, pointed straight down, not like a hospital cam, more like a scanner. There was a terminal beside the gurney. Its screen blinked. New file initiated. Redtail, 3.1. Subject count, 2 pending categorization. I backed toward the door. Nate didn't. He stepped toward the gurney, slowly unzipping his hoodie, like he was getting comfortable. I shouted at him, grabbed his arm, but the moment I touched him, he turned and screamed a sound that didn't belong to a person. It wasn't rage. It was like interference, like static coming out of a human throat. "You're interrupting the archive." He shoved me back so hard I hit the floor. My head cracked against tile. I saw white for a second. No stars, no birds, just pure white. And when I blinked, he was gone. Gone. I stood, looked around. No door behind me, no hallway, no slope. Just another room. And this one wasn't clean. It was packed with cages. Each cage was only about 5 feet tall. Each one had a person inside, sitting, silent, knees to chest, heads down. No screaming, no moaning, just trembling. They weren't bleeding. They weren't dead. But their eyes, those who looked up, were empty. Each one had a tablet wired to the bars. Each screen showed a looping clip, just a few seconds, of that same person, outside, in the real world, at a gas station, at an airport, laughing, eating, hugging someone, looped, endlessly, like their soul was being replayed on delay, just to prove it existed. I moved to one cage, tapped the screen, the clip restarted. It was a girl in a pink McDonald's hoodie, hugging someone at what looked like a mall entrance. She smiled. She waved. Then static. Below the video, in red font, Origin, Redtail, 2.6. File status, successfully indexed. Live copy, preserved in 3.1. Do not duplicate. I looked at her. The real her. She didn't react, didn't blink. I realized something else then. Every cage had no door. They hadn't been put in there. They'd been built around them. They were part of the structure now. This wasn't murder. It wasn't torture. This was conversion. Human to data. emotion to file, identity to version number. I scream for Nate. I scream for God. I scream for the street, the air, the traffic I had left behind like a fool. Nothing answered. Just the same drip, drip, drip of something unseen leaking from the ceiling. Not blood, not water. Just silence in liquid form. The wall behind the cages shimmered. A portal. No. A screen. It lit up with my name. First. Last. Correct spelling. Correct middle initial. A picture I had posted to my Instagram 4 years ago. At a concert in Chicago. It flickered once, and then displayed a blinking prompt. Begin indexing. Yes. No. I didn't press anything. The cursor moved on its own. The cursor entered without me touching a single key, and the screen swallowed my photo. My own face inverted into negative colors. Burned white where my eyes should have been. Black where my teeth flashed in that old Chicago concert selfie. The room darkened, like the lights were being pulled toward the monitor instead of illuminating it. Everywhere else went hollow. I didn't scream this time. My throat wouldn't obey. Something about seeing yourself digitized, processed like your inventory, doesn't trigger fear. It triggers numbness, like someone has reached inside your ribs and twisted your heartbeat into a knot. Behind me, the cages shook. At first it was faint, metal scraping, a low vibration, but then came a louder sound, not banging, not rattling, but breathing. Dozens of breaths at once, perfectly synchronized, like one organism inhaling through 50 different mouths. Every single person in those cages lifted their heads. Same time, same angle, same slow, dragging motion. Their eyes weren't empty anymore. They were focused on me. Some eyes were bloodshot. Some were milky white. Some were yellowed around the edges, but every single pair tracked me like I was the final piece of a puzzle they had been waiting for. I backed away from the monitor. My feet slid on something slick, and I almost fell. When I looked down, it wasn't water or blood. It was reflection. The floor was reflecting the cages like a mirror. Not the room, not the ceiling, just the cages, as if the floor only wanted me to see them. The moment I noticed it, a voice spoke. Not from a person, not from a speaker, not from a phone. It came from the walls, vibrating through the padded surface, like sound traveling through bone. Subject observable. The lights above me shifted to a deeper red, so dim I could barely see my own hands. The breathing from the cages accelerated, and the people inside began whispering. Not words, not names, just tones. High, low, crackling, clicking, like damaged radios. I stumbled back toward the slope we came down from, expecting to find the tunnel, but it was gone. The wall sealed itself, seamless, smooth, like it had never been opened. That's when I saw movement behind the cages. Not a person, not an animal, something long. It moved like arms dragging across the floor, except there were too many joints. Each limb bent in more places than a human arm ever could, and wherever the joints touched the ground, the concrete rippled like skin. I squeezed my fists until the latex gloves squeaked. The thing reached a cage, and one of the silent people inside convulsed like an electric shock hit them. The body arched back, spine pressing against the bars until their neck snapped awkwardly to one side. No scream, just click. The limb didn't even grab them, it just brushed their ankle. The tablet connected to the cage blinked. Status: corrupted copy. Transfer to next version. The person in the cage slumped forward, head down, motionless. But then, on one of the monitors above, They appeared again, alive, standing in some city street under neon lights, waving at a delivery driver outside a Starbucks. The footage wasn't recorded, it was live. I looked up at the monitors and saw cities I recognized. Dubai's metro, Times Square, Shibuya Crossing, a park in Toronto. Thousands of miles apart, but every single one had people who weren't moving, just standing, watching something outside the frame. They were the indexed, not dead, not alive, just copied. A mechanical hiss echoed behind me, and the wall split open, not like a door, more like flesh tearing. A path formed, organic and wet-looking, illuminated by veins of faint blue light running through its walls. It sloped downward, deeper than the first tunnel. I heard Nate's voice from below, not screaming, not calling my name, just talking, casual, conversational, like a customer chatting at a McDonald's counter, ordering a combo meal. I didn't think, I just ran after him. The path narrowed. The walls pressed against my shoulders, smearing that cold dampness onto the gloves. I could hear whispers coming from the material itself. Broken messages, glitches, fragments of sentences. Filed 3.0. Subject incomplete. Autopsy iterations, not stable. Index faster. Replace. Replace. I emerged into a chamber larger than anything above. A hangar. A cathedral. Some hybrid of both. Hundreds of chairs were bolted to the floor, all in perfect rows, facing a massive screen on the far wall. Each chair had restraints. Each had a headset. Each seat was occupied, but not by bodies. They were filled with shells, skin, clothing, hair, human in shape, but hollow. No weight, no movement, just mannequins made from people. Their mouths were open, frozen mid-breath. Some had tears dried on their cheeks. Some had lips cracked from dehydration. All sat upright, staring forward. The giant screen showed a menu. Redtail 3.1. Archive. Overlay integration. Queue. 17 new subjects. Local input detected. Under it was a mirrored pillar. Chrome. Smooth. When I looked into it, I didn't see my reflection. I saw dozens of versions of me, layered in thin, translucent silhouettes, each slightly different from the next, like a collage of alternate lives I never lived. One version of me was in a suit. One was covered in paint. One had longer hair. One held a child. Every version smiled. The voice in the walls pulsed again. Subject acceptable. Predictive. Memory active. I backed away. That was when I saw Nate. He wasn't in a cage. He wasn't on a chair. He stood at the center of the room, kneeling beside a console, like a priest tending to an altar. His hoodie was gone. His shirt too. His skin was covered in a pattern of red lines and letters, etched so deep they looked burned into him. Not random, not tribal. They were file paths, directories, dates, version numbers. He lifted his head slowly, like his bones obeyed wires instead of muscle. His eyes were bright, not the whites, the pupils, bright, like tiny red LEDs. He smiled at me, lips trembling like they weren't used to the motion anymore. "It's okay," he said. "You don't have to be yourself anymore. They'll store you. They'll keep you forever." I asked him who they were. He pointed upward, not to the ceiling, to the rows of seats, to the husks sitting in silence. The watchers. Every update needs witnesses. Every version must be observed. They don't die. They just watch us join. He reached his hand out, not to pull me closer, to offer me a chair. One of the restraints slid open automatically, like a mouth welcoming food. A notification appeared on the screen. Subject 000-. A Redtail 3.1. Position. Reserved status. Waiting. My name. My seat. Already assigned. And the worst part, there was no screaming inside me anymore. There was relief. The urge to sit was almost comforting, like stepping into a hot shower after a freezing day. No more memories, no more choices, no more future, just a file number. My legs moved on their own. The seat was warm. The seat accepted me like a jaw closing. Metal arms slid out from both sides and pressed down on my forearms. Not sharp, not violent, just firm. The restraints felt warmer than the room, as if they'd been holding someone else moments before. The headset descended from above, a smooth black visor with no lenses, no straps. It hovered over my eyes, humming with a static that matched the rhythm of my pulse. I didn't fight it, at least not at first. The chamber's screen in front of me pulsed, red bleeding into white, like arteries filling a blank sheet of paper. A line of text appeared. Begin memory extraction. I exhaled. Part of me expected it to tear into my brain, rip something open, shred something deeply biological. But it was quieter than that. It didn't take anything. It replayed. My first memory was a Starbucks line. Not any specific moment, just the sensation. Sticky floor near the counter, the smell of burnt espresso, the click of ice cubes against the plastic cup. The memory hovered in front of me, in full clarity, like I was back there, waiting, phone in hand, doom scrolling TikTok. Then another memory layered over it, sitting in a mall food court in Redtail Town with Nate, eating fries drowned in honey mustard. The memory wobbled like unstable video footage, edges blurred, as if someone was scrubbing the timeline backwards and forwards, looking for keyframes. Then more memories stacked. Birthday candles, McDonald's drive-thru at 1 a.m., airport security lines, the blue of the TSA bins, a concert stage in Chicago, Nate laughing in a Discord call. They weren't being stolen. They were being organized, sorted by timestamps, indexed like files, placed into neat digital folders tagged with feelings: joy, regret, fear, boredom, loneliness. It should have felt intrusive. Instead, it felt clean, like someone wiping fingerprints off a glass screen. That's when the headset tightened. Not physically, mentally. Something pressed through the visor. Not an image, not a voice, just presence. Like a crowd standing directly behind me, inches from my ears, breathing softly, waiting to see what I did next. Text scrolled across the screen ahead of me. Discard unnecessary self. My pulse thinned, not louder, just smaller. A mirror slid up in front of the chair, thin, silver, tall enough to show me from head to toe. But the reflection wasn't me, not completely. Version after version of me flickered behind the main image, like someone cycling through character presets in a game. One had no scars. One had never gained weight. One had perfect posture. One looked older. One looked 12. One had a tattoo I had considered, but never gotten. Each image paused for a fraction of a second, testing how it fit. The voice came again, directly through my teeth this time. Subject must be stable. The restraints squeezed tighter, not choking me, just holding me in place, the way a museum mount holds up ancient bones. Nothing wasted, nothing accidental. Another screen lit up, smaller, beside me. It displayed a list of files: emotion, unfit, memory, unreliable traumatics. Pending, beside each item was a simple button: delete. I tried to sit up. The restraints didn't budge. The reflection shifted. Every version behind me vanished. Only one remained. A version with no fear, no anxiety, no hesitation, the one I pretended to be online. Confident, funny, unbothered, skin that didn't shake, eyes that didn't twitch when faced with cruelty. That version smiled into the mirror. It wasn't friendly. The headset pulsed a single tone into my skull. Flat, monotone, a beep that felt like it came from a heart monitor. You are not the version we need. The chamber's lights went out. Everything became breath and darkness and cold metal. I heard footsteps. Not panicked ones. Not frantic, but measured. The kind you hear in parking garages when someone knows exactly where they're going. Nate stepped into the glow of the monitors. He wasn't red anymore. He wasn't bruised. He was pale, clean, empty. His voice didn't shake when he spoke. It was calm, like a customer service rep reading off a script. They don't want the you that makes mistakes. They want the version that never fails, the version with no loose ends. He walked over to the gurney. I saw something lying on it, the shape of a person curled in the fetal position, naked, skin smooth like glass. It looked like me, not perfectly, but close enough that I didn't want to stare at it too long. The real you, he said, is outdated. Something clicked behind my skull, not mechanical, neurological, a switch flipping. A flood of memories rushed through me, not the clean replay from earlier. These came jagged, broken, like someone was cutting out pieces of film with dull scissors. My first panic attack at a Starbucks bathroom stall. The time I failed an exam and told everyone I just didn't study. The night I cried in a McDonald's parking lot because I hated who I was becoming. Watching my parents argue at 2 a.m. The Instagram nights where I deleted and reposted a photo 6 times because the lighting wasn't me. The time I ghosted someone who cared about me because it was easier. None of those memories were clean. None were pretty. None were cinematic. They were the parts of life you don't post. The machine pushed them forward, not to erase them, to judge them. A line of text scrolled above the mirror. Failure. Index 82.17%. Archive. Viability. Low. Nate's face softened with pity. You can't join the watchers like this. Behind him, the long, many-jointed limbs I'd seen earlier slithered out of the shadows. Except this time, I understood what they were. They weren't arms. They were connectors, fibers, data lines, fleshy cables made from people who never made it to stable. They stretched toward the seat. They didn't want to kill me. They wanted to rewrite me. The restraints slid tighter across my wrists. The headset clamped down on my temples. My jaw locked until my teeth buzzed. The system spoke one last time. Subject must be converted. Begin reconstruction. The arm surged toward me, and then the chair malfunctioned, not mechanically, digitally. Every screen flickered at once. The reflections vanished. Cables recoiled. The index froze mid-scan. A new line of text erupted across the console. Version override. Redtail 4.0 updating. The temperature in the chamber plummeted. Breath turned visible. Even Nate backed away, eyes wide, shoulders trembling. The lights shifted from red to white. Harsh, surgical, unforgiving. The mannequins in the rows began to twitch. One cracked its neck. Another rotated its jaw. A third raised a hand, fingertips trembling like fresh nerve endings. They weren't watchers. They were failed versions waking up. Someone started laughing. It wasn't Nate, and it wasn't me. It was every voice in the room, layered, echoing, rippling through bone and metal. You shouldn't have come here. Not threatening, not angry, just a statement. The mirrors shattered, not as glass, as screens. Each shard displayed a different image. A woman screaming in a Dubai metro station. A man staring into traffic in Times Square. A kid standing by a Shibuya arcade entrance, motionless. A teenager sitting alone in a Toronto park, arms limp at their sides. Every index person smiling, identical smiles, like they'd been waiting for us to join. Nate dropped to his knees, clasped his head, and started mumbling, "We weren't supposed to see the next update. We weren't supposed to see the next update. We weren't..." The chamber ceiling tore open like cartilage, revealing a void above us, blacker than space, thicker than ink. A final message blinked on every surface. Archive complete. Local input no longer required. The restraints unclamped. The headset lifted. The chair opened like a door. They didn't want me. Not because I survived. Because I was irrelevant. The system had already learned enough. I don't remember how I got out. I don't remember how I reached my car, or how my feet found streets, or how I was breathing outside Redtail Road in the freezing air. I just know this. A few hours ago, I opened TikTok. There was a video on my For You page, a random vlog from some girl eating McDonald's fries, background blurred, neon sign reflecting off the window, and behind her, outside, leaning against the glass, there I was, standing still, expressionless, watching her, watching you, watching whoever's reading this, not blinking, just waiting for the update to reach you too. I adopted a cat 15 years ago from the dark web to help with my grief. She hasn't aged a day. Yo, so this story is going to sound completely insane. I get that. Hell, if I wasn't the one who lived through it, I'd probably laugh and scroll past this post too. But if there's even a sliver of you that believes the dark web holds stuff you're not supposed to see, listen up. This all started back in 2010. I was 17, fresh out of one of the worst years of my life. My older sister, Cara, died in a car crash right outside our neighborhood McDonald's, like the one we went to every Friday after school. Same spot. She ran a red light trying to change the Spotify song while driving. That stupid Empire State of Mind remix. I still can't hear it without dry heaving. She was my best friend. After she died, I shut down. Didn't eat, didn't talk, barely went to class. My parents sent me to therapy, but that was a joke. The shrink kept asking if I felt resentment toward the world. Like, yeah dude, of course I do. The only thing that kinda helped was watching those Here's My Story animation videos on YouTube, like those fake sounding ones with the crazy music and that narrator voice that's just chill enough to feel believable. The ones about people getting haunted after finding things online or encountering something messed up at Walmart. I'd fall asleep to them, hoping I'd wake up and my sister would still be alive. Instead, I found something else. It started with a comment thread under a video titled, "The Secret Discord Server That Sells Living Dolls." Dumb as hell, right? But one of the top replies was this cryptic message. They got more than dolls. Look for Catbox in the hollow. I was deep into internet rabbit holes at that point. Discord servers, Reddit threads, Tor links, all the edgy online spaces people warned you about on Facebook news articles your aunt would share. So I asked around, got some DMs on Reddit us from burner accounts, and eventually ended up in this invite-only Tor chat room called The Hollow. It was dead silent when I joined. Just usernames, no avatars, just plain gray interface, like a command prompt. I was about to log out when a message popped up. User, Malkin, whispers, you lost something precious. You may adopt something equally precious in return. We call her Catbox. I swear to God, my heart started pounding like I was about to jump out of a plane. It was weirdly specific. I hadn't told anyone in the chat about my sister or anything, but I played along. I typed back, user, Strayobit, what's Catbox? I didn't get a response for 10 minutes. I remember because I was doom scrolling Twitter on my second monitor and saw hashtag RIP, Steve Jobs trending. Yeah, that's how long ago this was. Finally, they dropped a link, an onion address, no preview, just a key that read, one-time access. You order, you own, no refunds. She finds you. Bro, if I had even an ounce of common sense, I'd have noped out right there. But when you're that deep in grief, logic stops applying. It was like I wanted to ruin my life. I clicked. The site was bare bones, like Craigslist, but older. Just one listing. A single pixelated photo of a black and grey tabby cat sitting on what looked like a velvet pillow. Her eyes were too big, almost cartoonishly round. The caption underneath read, Catbox number 12, companion grade, grief absorbent, 6.5 kilograms, female, intact, responsive, bonded once, price, 250 USD. There was no checkout, just an input box for your Bitcoin wallet and a field to enter an address. And like an idiot, I filled it out. I had about $400 in Bitcoin from some dumb online poker I used to play. Send the payment, closed my laptop, and immediately felt like I'd just made a huge mistake. But 4 days later, a package showed up. Not like an Amazon box. No labels. Just a long matte black crate, like something you'd ship a small weapon in. My mom thought it was something from my computer stuff. I told her I ordered a keyboard. Inside was a cage, not locked, not even secured, just loosely latched with a strange burlap tag tied to the top that said, name her true. Speak her aloud. She'll hear it. The moment I opened it, she walked out. Calm, graceful, not a scratch on her. Looked like a perfectly healthy tabby cat, except for those eyes. Too aware. Like she was observing me, not looking at me. I said the first name that came to my mind. Nova. She blinked, then meowed. One of those slow, polite meows that felt more like a thank you than anything else. Nova's been with me ever since, and I'm not exaggerating when I say she hasn't aged, not one bit. Same smooth fur, same sharp eyes, same weight, same exact personality. Cats change over time, right? They get slower, they get weird little habits. Nova doesn't. She's like a GIF stuck on loop. Always knows where I am, watches me sleep, doesn't eat unless I put the bowl down at exactly 7:03 a.m. And every few months, she brings me something, small things, usually. A USB stick I've never seen before, a photo of someone I don't know, sometimes with an address written on the back. Once, a receipt from a Starbucks in Kyoto, dated 1996, all left on my pillow, like presents. And every time I look into her eyes, I feel like she's remembering something about me I haven't told her yet. I tried talking about it once on a now deleted Twitter thread, back when threads were popping off. My account got suspended less than an hour later. Never got it back. I didn't even tag anything weird. I just said, anyone else adopt something living from the deep web that never ages? The replies were terrifying. Most were memes, but a few were just strings of numbers. One said, don't say her name online. She sees it. So I shut up. But last week, something changed. Nova brought me something new. It wasn't an object. It was a finger, a human finger, still fresh, tucked neatly between her teeth, like a kitten carrying a toy. I thought I was hallucinating until I saw the blood on the sheets. She dropped it at my feet, sat down, and said something I've never heard her say before. She said, "She's ready now." I didn't scream when I saw the finger. That's the part that messed me up the most. There was no panic, no frantic phone call, no, "Oh my God, I should call the cops." I just froze, staring at Nova like she'd finally said the thing I'd been waiting 15 years to hear. And that is how I knew something in me was already broken. I only realized it was real when the smell hit, metallic and sour, like pennies soaked in stomach acid. The blood wasn't dripping anymore, but it was wet, fresh enough that I could see the texture of the skin still holding shape around the bone. The nail was painted black with chipped gold flecks at the edges, like someone had tried a DIY design and got bored halfway through. Nova just sat there, tail curled around her paws like a statue, eyes unblinking and too wide. Not cat wide, human wide. Wide like she was waiting for me to understand. I grabbed a towel from the bathroom and wrapped the finger like I was bandaging it, like I was trying to help it heal. And that was when my hand started shaking. My vision tunneled, and I remember leaning against the sink, feeling my heartbeat crash against my ribs. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I swear to God, just for a second, I saw Kara behind me. Not her face, not her whole body, just a reflection standing there where no one should have been, hair dripping like she'd just climbed out of water. The towel fell into the sink with a wet smack. I sat on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to my chest, trying to breathe like they taught me in therapy. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Ground yourself, I whispered, like an idiot. Find something you can smell, something you can feel, something you can hear. All I could smell was blood. And then Nova padded into the bathroom, still silent, and sat in front of me. Her pupils were blown wide like a night predator's. I could hear her claws tapping the tile in slow rhythm. You know how normal cats breathe quietly? That calm, shallow little rhythm. Nova inhaled like a person, deeper than she ever had before. And then, in the smallest voice, she said, "She waited for you." I swear, I felt every atom in my body recoil. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed with all the lights on. The finger wrapped in towels like some sort of grotesque cigar, sitting in a shoebox on my desk. I didn't dare look at Nova. I could feel her staring at me from the edge of the bed, like a shadow with a heartbeat. Around 3 a.m. I caved and opened my laptop. I didn't search any normal sites. No Reddit, no YouTube, no Google. I went straight into Tor, like I was on autopilot, like every ounce of fear ended up filtered into a single question. What the hell is Catbox? The Hollow still existed. Same gray interface, same usernames stripped of profile pictures, like a graveyard with a chat bar. No messages since 2021. I typed something in anyway. Catbox number 12, still active? The reply came instantly. User, Alkin, whispers, "She brings what is owed." I typed back so fast, I didn't even register what I was saying. A finger? The message stayed in place for 1 second. Then it glitched, rewrote itself like someone had remote access. The new text read, "A beginning." I slammed my laptop shut like it could bite me. I tried to sleep again, but every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing that chipped black and gold nail. A real person, someone walking around Starbucks, or Sephora, or Target, completely unaware they were missing a piece of themselves. Someone screaming in a back alley, or locked basement, or morgue drawer. At 6:40 a.m., I checked Nova's bowl. I filled it every morning, exactly at 7:03, because she never ate if I was early or late. If I messed up the timing, she'd just sit there, waiting, eyes glossy. That morning, she was already sitting by the bowl, watching, waiting. I poured the food at 7:03 exactly, hands shaking. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me like a therapist waiting for a confession. I snapped. I grabbed Nova by the scruff like she was a normal cat. She didn't hiss or cry or scratch. She went limp, totally passive, like she'd been waiting for me to try this. I carried her straight to the bathroom and dropped her into the empty tub. She didn't move. "What did you do?" I asked. Not yelling, not angry, just numb. She tilted her head like she was studying language. Then she lifted a paw, the same paw she used to gently tap me when she wanted attention, and pressed it against the porcelain. Her claws scratched deep enough to carve grooves into the bathtub. 6 lines. Then she looked at me and placed her other paw on the opposite side. 5 lines. 11, I whispered. Nova blinked. Then, slowly, careful like she was decoding human speech, she said, "1 left." My whole body went cold. Not scared in a movie theater cold. Skin under a freezer door cold. Graveyard cold. I backed out of the bathroom and locked her inside. I don't even remember making the choice. It was instinct, like locking an intruder out of your bedroom. I sat in the hallway. I swear hours passed before I realized I hadn't moved. My phone buzzed beside me, notifications piling in from Instagram, TikTok, texts from friends, random Discord groups, all from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Posts, screenshots, memories, photos of Cara, her smile at Times Square, her selfie at a Las Vegas Starbucks, her sitting in front of Cinderella's castle at Disney World, that stupid Empire State of Mind caption she posted once, then a final image I'd never seen before. Cara at our home, on the porch, holding something small and grey in her arms, a kitten, wide-eyed, round pupils, a tag on his collar that read number 11. I dropped the phone. The bathroom was silent behind me. Then the scratching started. Long, slow, deliberate. Not cat scratching. Human fingernails dragging across tile. Nova didn't meow. She whispered, "Where's the rest of her?" I don't remember crying. I only remember opening the bathroom door, and Nova was standing on her hind legs, tall as a toddler, mouth stretched wider than any animal could manage, claws dripping red, and there were 11 more fingers lined up neatly in the tub, all left hands, all missing the pinky. I don't remember walking back into the bathroom. My body must have gone there on autopilot, like muscle memory from a dream. I just remember the weight of the air, thick, humid, like someone had left the shower running for hours. The tile smelled like pennies and iron, not sharp, not horror movie blood smell, more like old wounds, like a hospital wing after the nurses changed shifts. Nova wasn't on 2 legs anymore, but she was sitting wrong, not curled like a normal cat. She was upright, her spine rigid, her tail flat against the tub, eyes half-lidded like she was pleased. The 11 fingers were lined across the porcelain like someone had laid chopsticks out before a meal. They weren't fresh, not like the first one. The skin was tight, pale, some shriveled around the joints, like they'd been refrigerated too long, and every nail was painted, not all the same color, not all chipped the same way, some glitter, some matte, some plain. Each one a different person. I didn't step closer. I didn't scream. I just stared. My brain was trying to make sense of it in the dumbest way imaginable. Who paints their nails black and gold? Who paints only their left hand? Who loses their pinky? Like there was a logical answer that wouldn't destroy me. Nova blinked once, slow. That cat blink, the affectionate one, the I trust you blink. Except there was nothing gentle about it. It felt like she was testing me, waiting to see if I'd break or accept this, like I accepted everything else she brought over the years. I whispered, because I couldn't breathe right. Where did you get them? Her ears twitched once, not from sound, from memory. And she did something I still don't know how to explain. She lifted her paw and pointed, not at the fingers, not at me, not at the door. She pointed at the ceiling, the bathroom vent. My stomach flipped like someone punched it. I dragged a chair from the hallway, climbed up, and unscrewed the plastic grate. Dust rained down over my hair and shoulders, coating the bloodstains on my shirt with gray. When I pushed the grate aside, I saw something wedged in the duct. A paper envelope, thick and yellowed, swollen like it had been damp once. Not taped, not sealed, just resting there, like someone had slid it in from inside the wall. I pulled it out, careful, like it might crumble, and climbed down. Nova hopped out of the tub without breaking eye contact. She sat at my feet, spine straight, tail still, like a student waiting for a test score. The envelope had no writing. Inside were photographs, 11 of them. Each one was the same woman. Different cities, different outfits, different years. A high-rise balcony in Dubai, a McDonald's in Seoul, with pixelated neon reflecting off the windows, a hospital parking lot with an oxygen tank strapped to her side like a purse, New York subway platform, her hand on a railing, her left sleeve missing a button, always her left hand visible, always missing the smallest finger, her face blurred in every photo, like someone had smeared Vaseline over just her features, not edited, erased, but there was something else in every shot, something I didn't notice until the 5th or 6th picture. A cat. Not Nova. A different shape every time, a different color, but always sitting near her feet or shoulders. Every shot had a cat with her. At first glance, it was nothing, just coincidence. People take photos with pets, but the angle was wrong. Every single time, the cat was looking at the camera. No matter the background, no matter the setting, no matter the lighting, its eyes were locked on the photographer. Alive, intentional, like it knew who was taking the picture, like it was reporting back. Nova nudged my ankle. I don't know why I said it out loud, but I did. Is that cat box 11? She tilted her head. I looked back at the pictures, and something clicked in a part of me that didn't want to wake up. 11 people, 11 fingers, 11 lives connected to that blurred woman. But then there was the 12th, me. I sat on the bathroom floor again, knees pulled to my chest, the envelope beside me, Nova on the edge of the tub, tail tapping like a metronome. I felt a tremor in the tile beneath me, not a house vibration, not pipes, something moving. I pressed my palm flat on the floor, and I felt it again, slow, dragging, like footsteps or crawling. It was coming from inside the walls. Nova didn't look at the floor. She looked at me. A single word, clear as speech therapy, and spoken like she'd practiced for years. Run. I bolted from the bathroom. I didn't close the door. I just ran down the hall, into my bedroom, shoved my dresser, in front of the door like a barricade. I grabbed my phone, shaking hands trying to text anyone, everyone, friends, co-workers, that guy from Insta who only replies when he wants something. Messages wouldn't send, no signal, not low bars, not weak Wi-Fi. My phone had no carrier name at all, just the time, 3:11 a.m. and the battery at 11%, a joke from the universe with terrible comedic timing. The scratching started behind my dresser, not claws, not paws, fingers, multiple, slow, deliberate. Something was trying to enter my room through the drywall. Nova was outside the bedroom door, pacing. Her shadow under the door didn't move like an animal. It strode back and forth, a rhythmic cadence, like someone pacing in thought. Then, silence. 1 second, 2, 5, 10. Then a thud, not against the door, against the dresser. Then another, like someone pushing from the other side. A shoulder, a torso. I grabbed the dresser handle and leaned my whole body weight into it, as pointless as it was. I heard breathing, not animal, not mechanical, human, breathing inches from my ear through the wood. I pressed my forehead to the door. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to hear it clearer. That was when I heard the voice. She owes one more. I don't remember screaming. I remember blankness, a numb shock like stepping into freezing water. The dresser slid an inch, then another. My hand slipped. The wood vibrated under my palms. I whispered, shaking, throat raw. Who? Right then, something pushed hard enough to rattle the hinges, and from the other side of the door, the answer came. Calm, measured, almost patient. You. Something cracked inside me. Not bones. Belief. They didn't want me dead. Not yet. They wanted to take their piece. 11 taken. 1 left. And the scratching slowed. Like whoever was on the other side smiled and waited. And Nova purred. Long, deep, satisfied. Part 4 will tell you what came through the wall. If you're still reading, remember one thing. Cats don't hunt mice. They bring trophies to their owners, and mine hasn't delivered me yet. I don't know how long I pushed against that dresser, only that at some point my arms went numb and my shoulder burned like I'd been grinding bone against metal. The knocking stopped, not faded, not retreated, just paused, like whoever or whatever was on the other side was holding their breath, waiting. The silence felt wide, like the walls were stretching around me, swallowing sound. I could hear my heartbeat pulsing in my ears, a dull drum echo beneath the drywall. Then, quietly, there was the tiny tap-tap of claws, not frantic or aggressive, calm, measured. Nova. She paced a slow circle outside the door. I could see her shadow moving under the gap, a shape with 2 long legs. The shadow stretched and pulled like elastic, the proportions wrong, the movements too fluid to belong to something with bones. Then it stopped, a single breath from her nose, like a human clearing their throat before speaking. I leaned closer to the door, and Nova said, "He's here." I felt the words in the floorboards, under my feet. Something heavy stepped into the hallway, not tapping, not dragging. Footsteps, bare skin on wood. A man's footsteps. I froze. Every instinct in me fired like alarm bells, but my body didn't move. I felt like prey, fixed under a spotlight, too exposed to run and too terrified to speak. The footsteps stopped right in front of my door. No knock, no voice, just stillness. Then, a fingertip slid through the gap under the door. It wasn't rotting or missing parts. Clean skin, pale, healthy, almost delicate. I remember noticing the knuckle hairs, thin, grey, neatly trimmed. A man who cared about his appearance. A man who prepared. The finger bent like it was testing the air temperature. Then a second finger joined it. Then a third. They weren't groping blindly. They were feeling for me. I backed away, shaking, holding my breath, trying not to make a sound. The fingers flattened against the floorboard like spider legs, stretching forward, inching into my room. Then they withdrew, slow, polite, the same way Nova blinked when she was satisfied. I forced myself to look through the dresser slats where the wood didn't fully meet the floor, a gap the size of a coin, and I saw a silhouette, tall, thin, dressed in something long, something that barely brushed the ground. A coat, a robe, I don't know, but the sleeves dangled past the hands that hung loose, relaxed, like someone waiting for a barista to call their name. He never bent down to the gap. He just leaned closer to the door, enough that I could hear breathing, slow, steady, like meditation. Then the breathing stopped, and the voice came. Cats hunt grief. We harvest what remains. Not whispered, not shouted, spoken like a funeral director explaining a procedure he'd repeated 1,000 times. I wanted to scream, but the sound got stuck somewhere in my throat. I felt teeth press into my lip because I was biting down so hard it hurt. He didn't push the door again. He didn't try to break it. He just waited. Then Nova spoke to him. Her voice was different when she talked to him. Low, reverent, obedient. 12. She is ready. A soft exhale, like a laugh without humor. You've done well. There was love in his tone. Affection, like an owner praising a loyal pet. I pressed both hands into the dresser, pushing it tighter against the frame, like it would matter. My palms left sweat prints on wood. The man shifted, stepping away, but not down the hall. Up, the stairs, the attic. I never used that attic. It's sealed from the inside, hatch painted over where my parents moved out. I heard his weight on the second step, the third, the fifth, each step groaning under him like it recognized him. Nova stayed by my door. She purred once, then padded away behind him. I stayed there, breathing shallow, body stiff like I was waiting to be shot. I didn't sleep, didn't blink much. Every few minutes, I listened for movement above the ceiling. I heard it, not footsteps, not rummaging, scraping, like something being carved. At sunrise, the house was still. I didn't even feel safe enough to open the door. I texted 911. No service, not connection lost, not call failed, just a spinning circle of nothing. I checked my laptop. No Wi-Fi, not even offline storage. Every file on my desktop replaced with the same icon, a cat silhouette inside a black square. Dozens of them, hundreds. Clicking any of them opened a blank white window and a single line of text. No. 13. I slammed it shut. Hunger hit me in waves, hours at a time. I didn't eat. I didn't shower. I listened. At 9 p.m., the attic door opened. Not loudly. No creaks. Just a clean hinge slip. The sound of something prepared. The footsteps came down the stairs again. Nova first. Except her fur was wrong. Matted. Wet. Clumped like she'd rolled through oil, or blood, or something thicker. Her eyes weren't wide anymore. They were half-lidded, relaxed, like she'd been swimming laps and finally finished. Then him. He stopped at the bottom step. His coat, or whatever it was darker now, heavy, hanging in places it hadn't before. And he carried something, a box, small, wooden, black and lacquered with gold corners. He turned toward my door. Every atom in me screamed to run, to smash a window, to jump the balcony, to break bones if it meant getting away. But I didn't. I couldn't. He set the box on the floor, right against the dresser. The sound was soft, solid wood against polished floorboard. Then he spoke again. "You grieved beautifully." I didn't answer. He continued anyway. The others screamed. "You carried yours." Silence. 12 lived with mercy. A pause. "The last one stays with you." He lifted the box lid. I didn't need to see it, because I knew the smell. That sickly sweet metal scent that lives in hospital laundry rooms and locked morgue drawers. Not just a finger this time. Bones arranged like teeth. A jawline I recognized. Kara. Not her skull. Not her face. Just her teeth. Every one of them. Polished white. Laid in a circle. Set like a crown. Nova curled beside them and licked one tooth as if it were cream from her paw. The collector, because that's the only name I can give him, placed his hand on the box. He didn't kneel. Didn't bow. Just rested his palm gently against the wood like it was sacred. Then he said, "Welcome home, 12. I wanted to scream that I wasn't 12, that I wasn't part of anything, that I didn't belong in their lineup of grief-stricken sacrifices and half-eaten memories. But Nova turned to me, and she smiled. Cats shouldn't smile. They don't have the muscles. But she did. Her jaw stretched just a little too wide, eyes curved in crescent moons, whiskers lifted like punctures, and for the first time in 15 years, I understood what she was. Not a pet, not guardian, not a comfort, a key. And I was the lock. If you want it, ask. But no, there are things you can't unread. I didn't move when the collector closed the box. His fingers rested atop it, like a priest blessing an altar, knuckles pale and thin, veins branching beneath the skin like roots through stone. Nova curled in a crescent beside the lacquered lid, tail draped over her hind paws. Her head turned toward him once, then toward me, slow, deliberate, the way a parent introduces a child to a stranger who already knows their name. The collector spoke without looking at me. Grief must be fed, not a command, a law. His presence drained the hallway of air. It felt like breathing underwater, lungs filling with weight instead of oxygen. I pressed my palms against the dresser again. I don't know why. There was no point. The door wasn't a door anymore, just a prop between where I was and where they already stood. He lifted the box from the floor, one hand gripping the base, the other curled over the lid, like he was afraid the contents would try to escape. The teeth rattled inside, not violently, not chaotically. They shifted in rhythm with his steps, a dozen ivory pebbles rolling in a circle. Kara's voice echoed in my skull, not her actual voice, not speech, just the memory of her laugh bouncing off that McDonald's parking lot the last night she was alive. I moved without realizing I'd decided to. I slid the dresser aside. I didn't hear it scrape, didn't feel the weight. I just blinked, and the hallway was in front of me. Door open, world exposed. The collector turned toward the stairs. Nova hopped from step to step after him, silent as mist. I followed, not because I wanted to, because I understood. Some part of me, some part broken the day Kara died and never healed, stood up and walked behind them like I was answering a summons older than language. The house in the dark wasn't my house. Every familiar shape looked wrong. The family photos on the wall had changed. Where my parents' faces used to sit, only strangers stared back. 11 of them, each missing the pinky on their left hand. Their smiles were broad, toothless, as if someone had scooped out every molar and left nothing but gums. The collector reached the front door. His fingers didn't grasp the knob. They slid beneath it, into the lock, as if the mechanism recognized him. The door swung open. Night outside was too quiet. No sirens from the highway, no cars, not even the wind. Just soundless fog curling along the pavement, like smoke from a house fire. No one reported. He stepped out. Nova paused in the doorway. She looked up the stairs toward the attic, as if checking for witnesses. Then she looked at me. Her pupils thinned into slits. She blinked once, slow. Permission. I followed them into the street. The collector moved ahead, the box resting against his hip, his coat dragging across asphalt, leaving behind a smear darker than shadow. It didn't glisten like blood. It absorbed light, like a hole burned into the world. Nova trotted to his side, tail brushing against the hem, fur dripping with something that wasn't water. I smelled it. Iron, old salt, chest cavity air, the aroma of something that once breathed. We didn't go far, just to the house across the street, the one with the beige siding and the pothos plant hanging from the porch that always died every winter. Lights glowed beneath the curtains. The collector placed the box on the welcome mat. Then he turned to me. His eyes weren't empty. They were full, overflowing with something worse than hatred. Purpose. You will open it. I didn't ask what he meant. The part of me that still thought in questions had already died. I stepped forward. My fingers trembled. Not because I feared the teeth. I feared the order in which they were arranged, like a clock that wasn't telling time, but counting down. The lid lifted without resistance. Inside, the 12 teeth lay in a ring, smooth enamel, polished, delicate as jewelry. My sister's crown, the last pieces of her to ever feel breath against their roots. They didn't sit still. Their arrangement pulsed microfractions at a time, jittering, reshaping, drawing tighter into a coil, like a live organism curling inward. I blinked. They formed a smile, a perfect, symmetrical smile. Then they opened. There was no jaw, no hinge, just enamel pulling apart, as if held together by invisible flesh. The teeth spread wider and wider, the space between them revealing something darker than gums. It opened like a flower that had never seen sunlight. Inside, the mouth was not pink, not black. It was skin, human cheek tissue stitched into a ring. Pores, fine baby hairs, sweat glands, a familiar mole just below where the lip should have been. Kara's cheek. I recoiled and hit the porch railing hard enough to bruise. The collector did not react. Nova watched, head tilted, tail swaying like a pendulum. The collector said, "Grief grows teeth. It devours what you refuse to bury." He gestured toward the window of the house. A silhouette stood behind the curtain, small, female, pressing her palms to the glass. A girl no older than 9. The collector nodded toward the box. "Feed her." My throat locked. My lungs rejected air. I shook my head. Nova was beside me in an instant. She didn't leap. She rose. Her body unfolded upward, taller, her front legs stretching like human arms. Her mouth widened. Not a yawn, an invitation. She pressed her head against my calf. Not affection, claim. The girl lifted the curtain from inside the window. Pale face, dark circles beneath eyes. Another missing left pinky. Not screaming, not crying, just mouthing a word. Please. Not pleading for mercy, begging to be delivered. The collector placed his palm on my shoulder, weightless but heavy as a grave. You lost one. They lost 12. He gestured to the box. Balance is the harvest. I don't remember making the choice. I remember the feeling. It was the same numbness that followed Kara's crash, the same hollow that made me order Nova. The same quiet that let me sleep after the first finger. I lifted the box, the teeth folded inward, hungry. I stepped through the yard, through the hedges, toward the porch light's halo. The door opened before I touched it. The child reached out. Her hand was small, trembling. Her right hand, her left ended at the ring finger. I held the box between us. Her eyes reflected it. Hope. I think I heard her mother calling somewhere upstairs. Nova climbed the banister and watched from above. Her tail dripped. The collector stood in the street, hands clasped behind his back, like a father admiring his legacy. The teeth widened again, eager. I tilted the box. The mouth latched onto the child's wrist. She gasped, once, sharply, then nothing. No scream, just a soft exhale, like someone slipping underwater. Her fingers clenched. Her nails scraped the wood. She buckled, and the teeth pulled. Skin stretched like taffy. Muscle tore with a sound like fabric. Blood didn't spray. It flowed, gentle, obedient, like ribbon unraveling from a spool. The mouth swallowed her hand, her forearm, her elbow. Smooth, seamless, wordless. There was no thrashing, no struggle. She sank into it, as if into a warm bed. Her head tilted backward, her lips parted. She whispered, "Thank you," just before the box took the rest of her. When it was over, the lid shut itself. The collector whispered something I didn't hear. Nova purred, longer than she ever had. The fog lifted from the street. Somewhere, a car alarm chirped, like nothing had happened. The house lights flickered. The mother upstairs was silent now. The collector turned to me. His face wasn't kind. It wasn't cruel. It was satisfied. 13 begins. Nova brushed her cheek against my ankle. Her fur was clean again. Soft. Light. She looked the same as the day she arrived. Not aged, not altered, just ready. 2 houses down, a porch light blinked to life. A door opened. Another voice called into the night. A woman's voice. "Mittens? Dinner time." Nova turned, tail lifted, ears forward, and I understood how it worked. The cats don't hunt mice. They hunt grief. They bring what you bury back to you. They bloom teeth. They find the hungry. They feed the rest. If you ever find a black crate with no return address, with a collar you didn't order, with a creature that doesn't age, don't name it. Don't speak to it. Don't love it. Because love is the first bite, and grief is always hungry. I became a star of a children's show on the dark web. Hello, hello. I don't know if this is real anymore or not, but before we start, please subscribe if you enjoy these stories. So, this might be the last time I post on here. Not trying to be dramatic. I just don't know what's going to happen after this goes live. I've sat on this story for over a year, and every time I almost hit submit, something happens that freaks me out enough to back off. Phone glitches, power cuts, my dog growling at a blank wall at 3 a.m., that kind of stuff. But I'm doing it now. I don't even care anymore. If something happens to me after this, I want people to know. It all started when I was 20, working night shifts at a Starbucks in downtown LA. I was trying to make rent while finishing an animation program on the side. It was a chill job. I'd usually mess around on my iPad drawing characters, scrolling TikTok, or watching animated horror story videos on YouTube during breaks. You know the ones. Creepy voiceovers, cartoon versions of crazy Reddit stories. There was this one channel I loved called Here's My Story. One night, I got a DM on Instagram. It was from a private account with 0 followers, no posts, and a profile pic that was just a black screen. I almost didn't open it, but the message preview said, "Your art has potential. Want to make real money animating." Sketchy, right? But listen, I was broke as hell. I owed like $400 to my school and was 2 days from getting my phone cut off. "So yeah," I replied. Conversation moved fast. They sent me a link to a portfolio site. It looked super legit, like Pixar meets Netflix level slick. High-end reels, testimonial quotes, probably fake. A tab called Opportunities. The site had this weird logo, a TV with a smiley face that had black eyes and a stitched mouth. Honestly, looked like something a Hot Topic teen would design. There was a job listing called Storyboard Artist plus Voice Talent for Children's Web Series. The pay said $4,000 per episode. Must be comfortable with digital masking and NDA compliance. I figured it was some weird indie gig, maybe foreign, probably with NDAS because of licensing. Whatever. I applied using a throwaway email. They responded in 10 minutes. I didn't even do an interview. They sent me a contract through this deep-ass file hosting site, like something you'd find in a Mr. Robot episode. Had that Doin' Onion vibe to it. I should have known better, I know. But like I said, I was desperate. The file opened with this creepy little jingle, like full-on ice cream truck music. The contract said, "You will perform as the animated avatar Mickey Smiles, a cheerful host for our special clientele. You will not inquire about audience, distribution, or company affiliations. All content is to remain strictly confidential." I signed it digitally. I didn't even read the fine print. A week later, they mailed me a box. No return address. Inside was a high-end VR headset, a pair of voice modulation earbuds, and a note that said, "Welcome to the family. Your studio goes live at 2 a.m. PST. Be ready." And here's where it gets really messed up. I followed the instructions, plugged everything in, ran the program on my laptop. No logos, just a black window that said Launching Studio. Then, boom, I was dropped into a 3D space that looked like a PBS kids show, threw up all over a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit. Bright colors, creepy-ass puppets, a cartoon sun with way too many teeth. And me? I was Mickey Smiles. The avatar looked like a janky Mickey Mouse knockoff. Big red cheeks, button eyes, movements felt off, like I wasn't fully in control. My arms would twitch or move before I told them to. Then the kids came in. At least I thought they were kids. They had usernames like Bugboy9 and Lil Pumpkin 321, but their voices, they were distorted, like auto-tuned whispers through a fan. I was told to welcome them, sing the intro song, play along. A script popped up in my HUD, like a teleprompter. "Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Smiley Hour. Who wants to play the missing game?" So I did it. I went along with it. Thought it was some alt-reality ARG crap. Rich weirdos. I even laughed. Until the question started. One of the puppets asked a kid, "Where does your mommy hide her keys?" Another time, I had to sing this rhyme about finding the windows without eyes, whatever the hell that meant, while the kids repeated it in that whispering, glitchy voice. The worst part? There was a live chat feed I couldn't turn off. Users with names like Watcher442 and The Surgeon were posting real-time comments like, "Room 407, good. That window doesn't have a camera. Use the blue van next time. Less attention. He won't scream. He's already practiced." I thought it was fake. Just dark humor. but then I started recognizing locations. One of the episodes had a background of a McDonald's, the one I used to go to in Koreatown. Another time, there was a park I swear I'd seen in a vlog from that YouTuber, Danny Gonzalez. Then came the episode called Night Show and Tell. My script that day said, "Let's all show Mickey something special from our bedrooms. Hold it up real close." One of the kids, username S1Lens69, held up a Polaroid. It was a girl, tied to a chair, eyes open, but she wasn't blinking. I tried to break character. I really did. I said something like, "Haha, that's a funny prank picture. Remember kids, make-believe isn't real." But the chat exploded. People typing no, and show her, and reward Mickey. My headset buzzed like a taser, not a vibration. It felt like a nerve zap straight into my brain. I collapsed off my chair and puked. When I ripped off the headset, my screen had changed. It was just a black window with red text. "Session complete. Compensation transferred. You're doing great." My bank account had $4,000, literally deposited. Real money. I even withdrew some at an ATM near a Taco Bell just to check. But that night, I heard clapping outside my window. Slow, deliberate, like someone congratulating me. I live on the 4th floor. I didn't sleep that night. You ever feel like the world around you is too quiet? Like someone turned the volume of life down by accident? That was my apartment the day after that first broadcast. The walls felt thinner. I could hear every floorboard creak above me, even though the unit upstairs had been empty for months. My fridge motor buzzed like it was growling. I unplugged it. The worst part? I checked the footage. I hadn't recorded anything, not on my laptop, not in the program folder, not even in the external screen capture app I always kept running. Just a 3-second static video titled happyface01.mp4. It was me, in full Mickey Smiles getup, tilting my head in slow, robotic motions like a clock pendulum. No voice, just a faint whispering under the static, like someone calling my name through a mouthful of water. After that, I shut it all down, threw the headset in my closet, wiped the software, ghosted the email, blocked the Instagram account. But that was a joke. 3 days later, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. to my phone blaring a notification. Not a call, not a text, a calendar event. Set to recording night, 3:30 a.m. Your smile matters. I didn't set it. My phone was on Do Not Disturb. My Wi-Fi was off. I watched it update itself while it was in airplane mode, and then the knocking started. Knock, knock, knock. 3 soft taps. Same time every night. No one ever outside. Not even a shadow under the door. I started recording it. Posted a TikTok even. It got pulled after an hour for graphic content. But there was nothing graphic in the video. Just me staring at my apartment door, holding a kitchen knife, while the knocks echoed again, and again, and again. I moved apartments in less than a week. Different city. A friend of mine had an open spot near Portland. I paid her 3 months' rent up front, lied, and said I was working on a new animation contract for a VR company. She didn't ask questions, but they still found me. It was a Sunday night, raining sideways. I was scrolling through Instagram, trying to feel normal again, when I got a DM from my cousin. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 years. All it said was, "Haha, this looks like." Attached was a grainy screen recording of a YouTube video. A deep fake parody video, I thought at first. It had racked up almost 15,000 views already. The title, "Happy Face Says Goodnight S1E3 live capture. The channel didn't even have a name, just symbols. Glitched kanji characters rotating like spinning teeth. The thumbnail was a freeze frame of me in that hideous Mickey Smiles costume, head bent backwards like a snapped bird, arms lifted like a puppet on strings. Except this wasn't from the first session. This was new. The background was different. A playground this time. But it wasn't a cartoon one. It was real. Rusted monkey bars, swings creaking in the wind. One of the slides was stained red, like someone had dumped a bucket of red paint down it and forgot to clean it up. You know when you know something is blood, but your brain tries to tell you it's not, because that would make everything worse. There were kids, again, or child-shaped things, but now they were all wearing cheap Walmart animal masks. Rabbits, bears, a monkey with one eye missing. Their bodies twitched like GIF loops, not animated, but like corrupted data flickering in and out of the frame. One of them, a small one in a fox mask, walked up to the camera holding something. I squinted. It was my passport. Open to my photo. Name visible. Blood on the edges. The comment section on the video wasn't disabled. People were cheering. Literally cheering. One user wrote, "Best performance yet. He's breaking. You can see it in the lag." Another, "Do the sleep episode. I want to see him cry." And the top comment, "Remember, all the actors signed. They belong to us." I couldn't breathe. I locked my phone in a drawer, grabbed a jacket, ran to the corner of the street just to puke behind a Walgreens. I started getting deliveries the next day. Uber Eats orders I never placed. Happy Meals, kids menus, slices of cake with "You're a star" written in icing. One time they sent a plush toy. It looked like me. Big black button eyes, mouth stitched shut with red thread. I burned it in the kitchen sink. The fire alarm didn't go off. The last straw was the Walmart footage. See, I started getting this weird guy showing up in the people you may know section on Facebook. Always the same profile pic. A man in a mascot costume with a giant smiling television head. Username, TV_uncle. 0 friends. Mutual location tag with me, even though my profile was set to private. I clicked on his profile out of stupid curiosity and saw he'd recently tagged me in a video. The caption just said, "Smile for aisle 5. I opened it. It was security footage from a Walmart near me, dated that morning. It showed me walking in, alone, looking at cereal, holding a basket, except I hadn't gone to Walmart that day, or any day that week. But the guy in the video moved like me, wore my hoodie, had the same mole near his wrist. Then, at 2 minutes in, he turned to face the camera directly. Didn't say anything, just smiled, wide, unblinking, and behind him, just out of focus, a row of mannequins, all dressed as Mickey Smiles, all facing the camera too. The camera flickered, and when it came back, the mannequins were closer. Next flicker, they were in the cereal aisle. Then, just one, standing right behind me. The video cut out. Black screen. At this point, I tried to file a police report. You know what they told me? "It's probably an ARG, sir. A performance piece. We're not seeing anything criminal here. Maybe try turning your phone off for a while." I walked out mid-sentence. That night, my laptop turned on by itself. I swear I'd shut it down. But at 2 a.m., like on cue, the fan whirred to life and the screen lit up. No desktop, no boot up, just a command prompt that typed by itself. Episode 4, starting. Title, Mickey's Special Friends. Location, your bedroom. I slammed it shut, tossed it off the balcony. It still turned on the next night. Do you know what it feels like to be watched by something that doesn't breathe? Something that doesn't blink, doesn't sleep, doesn't care if your heart is racing or if your knees are shaking. Something that only cares that you keep performing. There's a moment when fear stops being a reaction and becomes a place. I lived in that place for weeks. The night everything broke was when I realized the show wasn't happening inside my devices anymore. It was happening around me. It started in the hallway of the Portland apartment. The walls in that building were thin, but they were never alive. You know what drywall sounds like when you knock on it, hollow and stupid. But I woke up to new noises, not the knocks from LA. These weren't playful, patient taps. This was dragging, like someone was pulling a heavy object across the carpet from the other side of the wall. I sat up in bed, checked the time, 2 a.m. on the dot. I hadn't worn the headset in weeks. I had smashed it and stuffed the pieces into a trash bag, then left that bag at a gas station dumpster on a road trip just to be sure it was gone. The dragging got faster, then it stopped. Then the sound of something tapping, rhythmic, slow, came from the underside of my mattress. You can't talk yourself out of that sound. You can't, maybe the pipes, your way around it. I didn't look. I jumped out of bed, my phone flashlight shaking across the room like a dying firefly, expecting to see rats or some kind of raccoon that clawed its way under the floorboards. There was nothing under the bed, but my laptop, the one I had thrown off the balcony, was sitting open on my desk, screen already on. It was streaming. No interface, no browser, no cursor. Just a camera feed of my own bedroom from an angle in the top corner near the ceiling. I didn't have a camera there. I don't even own a tripod. In the feed, I could see myself looking at the laptop. I watched myself in real time, breathing hard, eyes wide. Behind me, a shape leaned against the wall, tall and stiff like a paper cutout. The stream comments trickled onto the screen, names I'd seen before. He's awake. He knows now. Make him smile. Show the audience why he was chosen. I turned around so fast, I nearly fell. Nothing there, just the wall, white paint, a poster for a local band falling at one corner. I slammed the laptop shut. The screen stayed on. I ripped the power cord out. Still on. The chat began flooding. Mickey doesn't get to leave. We want an episode. Bring the kids, I shouted. I'm not doing this. The first time I'd said it out loud to them, my voice cracked like a twig in a vice. The laptop speaker hissed, the way a TV used to when a channel went off air, and then a voice came through. Not a glitchy, anonymous whisper this time. Clean, calm, adult, friendly in the way your dentist smiles before telling you something is going to hurt. We already filmed tonight, Mickey. The feed switched. Now it was a playground. Not a cartoon playground. I recognized it. The faded blue slide, the graffiti on the seesaw, the cracked concrete path. A playground behind the elementary school, half a mile from my apartment, and in the center of the screen was a person, dressed in the Mickey Smiles costume, standing perfectly still. That wasn't even the part that made my stomach fold in on itself. At the edge of the frame, where the swings were, something sat. Not a child, not a puppet. Someone wearing a police uniform, body stiff, head slumped to the side, like the bones in their neck had forgotten their job. The camera zoomed in on the mascot. Slow, patient, like a predator studying prey. The costume lifted its hand. I watched its fingers, oversized, cartoonish, stretched toward the fallen officer. Not fast, not violent, just claiming. The chat went wild. He earned it. He watches now. He's ready for live. I didn't breathe for what felt like minutes. When I finally gasped, it sounded like someone else doing it. I ran. Not metaphor. I literally sprinted out the door, down the hall, through the rain. I didn't lock the door, didn't grab shoes, just bolted barefoot like an animal that had been starving for months. I got to the elementary school in 15 minutes. The playground was empty, no costume, no body, just rainwater collecting in the slide. I stood there, soaked, shaking, waiting for something to step out from behind a tree, a bench, a trash can, anything. Nothing. I walked home with numb feet and a numb skull, like my brain had been replaced with wet wool. I collapsed into bed without thinking. When I woke the next afternoon, I had 3 new notifications. 1. A Cash App transfer, $8,000. Message: Season 1 concluded successfully. 2. A private Instagram story tag from an account I didn't follow. Just a single photo, the playground, taken from the exact angle the livestream had used. 3. A single text message from a number with no country code. Tonight, we introduce your replacement. I thought relief would come, that maybe I could walk away now, let some other idiot take the spotlight. Then I heard the knocking again, not from the door this time, from inside the closet. Slow, patient, like something that wasn't trying to get out, but was waiting for me to open it. And behind that tapping, clear as a lullaby, came a voice I recognized from the headset. Soft, childlike, excited. Ready for your last show, Mickey? You ever look into your own eyes long enough in a mirror that they stop looking back? Like the face staring at you knows something you don't. Like it's waiting for you to catch up. I didn't open the closet. I stood there with a kitchen knife in one hand and my phone flashlight in the other, like either of those could fix whatever the hell was inside. I told myself, this is the moment. You open it, it's over. You don't. It never ends. But I just stood there, like a coward, while the knocking slowed, then stopped, and someone whispered, "Don't be late for makeup, Mickey." I threw up in the sink. Again. I've been doing that a lot lately. Bile, blood, panic. The next day, I found a package waiting outside my door. No address, no tape. Just a small white cardboard box. Clean, cold, like it had been delivered by thought. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't leave it there. It felt like not opening it would be worse than opening it. Inside was a phone, a burner, plastic shell, blank black screen, no apps, no carrier. One thing on it, a video, titled Mickey_Smile Protocol _final.move. I don't know why I watched it. Curiosity is just fear that grew teeth. The video was 13 minutes long. The first frame was static, but with faint, deep breathing in the background, wet, close to the mic. Then cut to footage that wasn't animated. It was real. It was me, tied to a chair, eyes pried open with metal hooks, like something out of a medical museum. I was screaming, not words, animal sounds, choked grunts, except it wasn't me, because I didn't remember filming this. I had never seen that room, but it was me. Every scar, every freckle. The room was concrete, no windows, fluorescent light flickering like it was trying to stay alive. Behind me, a red curtain, and then they entered. 4 figures, each in full body costumes, mascots, like rejects from a banned Nickelodeon pilot. One was a bear, bloated, jaw unhinged, and swaying like it was made of rubber. One was a giraffe, with its neck hanging too far to one side, like it had been hanged, and the rope hadn't been removed. One was a girl, or maybe a doll, porcelain mask, with cheeks cut into a grin so deep the paint bled down her neck. The last one was the TV-headed man, the one from Facebook. Except this time, the screen on his face was showing me, sitting in that chair, but smiling, like a perfect loop. The bear mascot came forward first. He held something in one paw. I couldn't tell what it was until he moved closer to the camera. A scalpel. I tried to pause the video. The burner wouldn't let me. The screen pulsed red when I touched it, and a new caption flickered. Protocol in progress. Do not interrupt. In the video, the bear bent down and whispered into my ear, "We're going to turn your screams into laughter." Then they started cutting. Not the eyes, not the limbs. They started with the mouth. They carved it wider, slowly, not sawing, smoothing, like they were sculpting clay. The blood looked almost too real, like they filmed it in 8K just to make it visceral. The sounds, oh God, the sounds, gurgles, whines, wet sucking from the throat as my other self choked on screams too thick to get out. Then the girl doll stepped forward and pinned paper to my chest. A child's drawing, crayons, scribbled in red and black. It showed a smiling face, my face, with the mouth stretched all the way around the head, looping behind the ears, and under it, stick figures, burning, screaming, children, watching. When the screen faded to black, the words came up. Smile protocol accepted. Season 2 begins tonight. You are now live. The phone screen flashed once and turned into a live feed. My bedroom. Again. Same angle, same lighting. Except, this time, I wasn't in the frame. Something else was. It was standing in the corner, facing the wall, shaking. The audio feed, just breathing. Louder, slower, wet. Then I heard it again, from inside the room, outside of the phone. That same whisper. Do you want to meet your fans? My phone buzzed. A text from a contact labeled simply as showrunner. They want a special episode, a field trip. I stared at that text for 5 whole minutes. Then came the next message. An address. I knew that address. It was my old childhood house, back in Arizona. We hadn't lived there since my parents divorced. It had been sold years ago. I hadn't been back, not once. I told myself I wouldn't go. I packed a bag. I bought gas. I drove. It took 12 hours. When I got there, the house was dark. Overgrown weeds, boarded windows, no mailbox. But the front door was open, just a crack, enough to see the light on in the hallway. I went inside, because of course I did. This was my life now. Inside, it was pristine, not abandoned, no dust, carpet freshly vacuumed, walls painted a perfect off-white. The scent of baby powder and rotting peaches filled the air. Something about it made my eyes water and my throat close up. Then the nursery music started. That same music from the first contract file. Lullaby tones in the key of wrong. Lights flicked on one by one as I walked deeper into the house. Kitchen, dining room, stairs. Then I heard children's voices, not talking, singing. Smile with your teeth. Mickey's watching you. Even if you scream, the show will still come through. Then I turned the corner and saw the stage. In the living room, full puppet theater setup, red velvet curtains, black and white floor, and in the center, a throne. And sitting on that throne was me, dead, or asleep, or animated, because my chest rose and fell like slow bellows, but the skin was paper white, mouth sewn shut with black shoelaces, and in place of my eyes were two flickering phone screens, each one playing old clips from the Smiley Hour. The room filled with static. My head throbbed. Then the show started, and I couldn't move. There was no audience that I could see, no YouTube chat window, no usernames, no smiling avatars, just silence, and the copy of me strapped to that chair on the throne, wires running beneath his skin like roots wrapping around bone. The stage lights flickered once, twice, and then everything in the room inhaled. Not metaphor. The walls actually expanded, like lungs filling with air. Paint blistered and pulsed. The ceiling beams bowed inward as though something pressed its face against them from the other side. A thin ribbon of static hissed from the television head mascot, who stood off to the corner, hands clasped like a priest at a coffin. Then the screens in the eyes of my double lit up. The left eye played episode 1, the ball pit, the fake kids, my awful sing-song voice saying, "Hi boys and girls." The right eye played episode 3, the police officer in the playground, the mascot bending down to claim him like a lost toy. The stitched mouth of the other me trembled, not open, just strained, like something inside was pushing to get out. A soft, polite cough echoed behind me, as if someone had been sitting in the dark, waiting patiently for me to notice them. I turned, and I finally met the audience. They weren't children, they weren't adults, they weren't puppets. They were faces projected onto bodies like masks of glitch. Wide GIF eyes stuttering and pixel warping, mouths looping the same two expressions. Happy, blank, happy, blank. They sat cross-legged on the floor like kindergartners, but none of them were breathing, just blinking in perfect sync every 3 seconds. The TV-headed figure walked toward me. His screen face now displayed a spiral, white and black, rotating slowly like a camera shutter. He extended a gloved hand. "On behalf of the network," he said, "welcome to your finale." His voice wasn't cruel. It was patient, like he'd delivered this line 1,000 times to 1,000 other performers. He touched the tip of his finger to the center of my forehead, and I heard every single viewer, not in the room, online, a sound like 1 billion children whispering through phone speakers in bedrooms at 2 a.m. "Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop." My legs buckled. Screens bloomed into existence above the stage, like flowers opening, floating LCD slabs and CRT TVs and phone displays suspended in the air on invisible strings. Every one of them streamed me, but not now. Different versions. Me in Starbucks, me in class, me asleep in a college dorm, me walking past a McDonald's at night. Thousands of angles spanning years. The show didn't begin when I signed the contract. It began the moment I had an audience. Someone stepped out from behind the red velvet curtains. Not a mascot, a person, a woman, small, wearing a black hoodie, face blurred, like my eyes refused to process it. She held a camera in one hand and a child's plastic microphone in the other. She walked up to the other me, tied to the throne, and whispered into his stitched mouth, "Your replacement is here. You made him famous." And then she turned the microphone to me, not toward my mouth, but toward my shadow. It twisted, longer, deeper, thickened like wet ink poured onto the floor. A shape rose from it. Mickey smiles. Not a costume, not a puppet. Long limbs, thin torso, head tilted in a human angle that bodies never should try. The face wasn't foam or fabric. It was skin stretched over something that didn't understand bone. It looked at my doppelganger in the chair. Then it looked at me. and I finally understood the missing rule. There is never one Mickey Smiles. There is only the next Mickey Smiles. I backed away, but the stage floor softened under my feet like wet carpet. I sank ankle deep. The audience's eyes widened. They leaned forward, twitching like moths tasting heat. The TV-headed man stepped behind me, placing his hands on my shoulders. His screen now displayed a live chat window I'd never seen before. Not usernames, real names, addresses, phone numbers, photos. Every person who had found the show. Every person who had shared the link, or told a friend, or posted a screenshot online. They watched us in real time. "They're excited," he murmured. "They've waited so long for you to host the finale," I screamed. Not a heroic scream, a trapped animal scream. The mascot's grip tightened. Mickey Smiles bent toward me, mouth splitting wider. No teeth, just darkness like a hallway, with no end. The audience giggled. 1,000 mismatched recordings of children laughing at once played through broken toy speakers. The woman in the hoodie clapped her hands once. Lights. The stage went pure white. Everything vanished, except the voice of the showrunner in my ear. Season 2 is cancelled. The viewers have asked for something new, an interactive experience. And then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I don't remember pulling it out. I don't remember unlocking it. I only remember the message, "Go live. Open your camera. Smile." My hand raised on its own, front-facing camera, screen tinting my face, blue in the dark. Behind me, in the reflection, Mickey stood at my shoulder, head tilted, mouth yawning like a curtain opening. I heard the audience chant, one syllable at a time. Smile, 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 smile. So I did, and every device in that room began streaming. Every screen turned toward me. Every watcher leaned forward. Every viewer screamed with excitement. You're watching this right now. You think you're safe because it's a story. You think you're just scrolling. But I learned something they never wanted me to repeat. You don't find the show. The show finds you. And if you've read this far, if you felt fear crawling up your throat, if the room around you suddenly feels too quiet, then you've already been cast. Welcome to the audience. Season 3 starts at 2 a.m. Bring a light. Bring a smile. They prefer the ones that don't blink.